Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we're going to start exploring using arpeggios to make the blues changes. Now, it's a bit of a step up from the major pentatonic, minor pentatonic thing. You still have to be aware of where the chords change, but we've got some new shapes to learn. And as soon as you learn new shapes in the blues, it can feel detached from all of the stuff that you've learned before. So the first step is going to be this learning the arpeggios and learning the arpeggio shapes, which feels real foreign, and it doesn't feel very bluesy, and it can feel a little bit not right if you've come from a straight ahead blues background. But what you'll find happens after you've spent a bit of time learning it and you've learned how to blend the arpeggios with the major and minor pentatonic-y stuff, it gets really cool. It's like you have to go through this little period of it feeling a bit uncomfortable, a bit lumpy, and a bit like, oh, this doesn't really feel very good and it doesn't sound like what I want to sound like. But you have to go through a little period of that feeling a bit clunky before it starts to blend in with the other stuff that you can play. Okay, so that's just a little upfront warning for you. So first of all, what is an arpeggio? An arpeggio is the notes of a chord played one at a time. So if we take an A7 chord, the perfect notes to play over an A7 chord are the notes of the chord played one at a time, which is A, C sharp, E, G, A, C sharp, E, G, A, C sharp. Now, if you play that over an A7 chord, sounds perfect, but it doesn't really sound very bluesy. So that's the first thing that people encounter as going like, oh, it sounds all wrong, it's not the right stuff, it's, you know, why are you making me do this or whatever. So the first step is going to be learning the A7 arpeggio. I call it an E shape. It's really a 6-string root. There's a few different descriptions of it. It is this one. We're going to start with the second finger on the 5th fret of the thicker string. Then first finger will play the 4th fret on the 5th string. Little finger will play 7th fret, still on the 5th string. Then first finger will play 5th fret on the 4th string. Third finger will play 7th fret. Second finger will play the 6th fret on the 3rd string. First finger will play 5th fret on the 2nd string. Little finger, then 8th fret. First finger moves over to the thinner string, 5th fret. And then 9th fret, which is a bit of a stretch. You can leave that one off if you feel it's really difficult. And then back down. Okay? You can add that G in as well if you want. So the first thing you need to do is practice the arpeggio, be able to play it, get it under your fingers. The second thing is to try exploring it over a chord, just the A chord. Don't worry about making changes or anything fancy like that. You just want to be experimenting with those notes over the A7 chord. And I'll warn you in advance, it ain't going to sound bluesy. A lot of the things that you were used to doing before, the bends, where the curls were and all of that sort of stuff is all gone. It's going to feel very foreign. Now, it gets better later. You have to believe me, but the starting point is just playing the arpeggio tones over a little loop. So get a little loop going. Then just play the arpeggio. Fluff at the end there, but hopefully you get the idea. Now, it's going to sound different to that when you first start. I'll let you know, I actually thought that went rather well, because it often sounds just really clunky. I haven't done just strictly dominant arpeggios practiced for quite some time. So I remember learning this and it feeling a lot less musical. Now, I've been doing this for a little while, obviously. I think when you first start doing it yourself, it'll sound a little bit more like... Once you feel really confident playing just the arpeggio notes, you might want to start trying to play the changes just with the arpeggio notes, but it's still not going to feel very musical. Okay, so just have a go at moving it between the A and the D and the E, particularly for the last 4 bars where the changes are a little bit quick. You might want to just explore, like, this little section of strings is a really useful bit when you're making the changes first of all. Just that much, because on the E, D, A, or whatever. For that last part where you can add a turnaround, if you're improvising and you want to put a turnaround there, just whap a turnaround in. Don't worry about always having to follow those changes. A lot more common to put a turnaround in that area. So just getting to know that little bit, I think, is a really, really good idea of making the whole changes. Okay, but feel free to do... kind of thing, just moving through the arpeggio shapes. It can help to use just that little bit that I told you about, so just go. Now, already some of you are going, oh, you're doing something else, man. What is it that you're doing? Now, I'm adding in the minor third to major third slide. Now, just that one little move changes the arpeggio so much. It suddenly adds all of this cool flavor. It only goes minor third to major third. Don't try and go major third to minor third. It just doesn't work. But if we add that in... now it's starting to sound a little bit more musical. A little bit more what we might expect to hear in a blues. And it's a lot more fun. It's suddenly a bit of a breakout thing. So that's the first step. We'll be exploring adding in that minor third. Let's just do a little bit of a recap here on the theory thing. So we've got our A7 arpeggio, A, C sharp, E, G, A. It's the notes. Now we're saying, well, we can add in the note C if it's moving up to the C sharp. So now we've got A, C, C sharp, E, G, and then back to A. Now the only note missing from the minor pentatonic is the note D. If we add the note D to our, as well as the note C, to our dominant 7th arpeggio, we've got the A minor pentatonic scale and the A7 together. So we'd end up having this. Now, if you think of the A7 arpeggio as being something that you're allowed to incorporate those minor pentatonic notes in as well, you're suddenly back to your blues thing, but you've got that extra sound. You've got that C sharp in there, and that's a real, real big deal. Okay, so it was the breakout point for me playing blues and making changes, was going, well, look, I can play the minor pentatonic over this chord anyway. So when I'm choosing to play the A7, if I just stick with the arpeggio tones, it sounds all dry and not bluesy, and I just didn't like it. But if I allowed myself to incorporate those two notes from the minor pentatonic as well as the dominant seventh arpeggios, everything made sense. One of the big parts of this is what we call framing the third. So we've already talked quite a lot about the importance of this note over the A, the note C sharp. If we look at those two notes from the minor pentatonic scale that we added, it's the note D, the note C, which we know has to go up to the C sharp. Now that one little phrase is really, really cool, and it's the thing that might help you break out of the the dominant seventh arpeggio being quite so stuck in sounding like kind of jazz and not really sounding like blues. Just that one little phrase. So all that stuff, even though it sounds still like minor pentatonic, I'm still thinking A7, because I'm still thinking this, but I'm allowing myself all of those extra sounds can be incorporated in. And it's a really, really fun way of getting those dominant sounds into your blues playing without it sounding so rigid. So your next task, before we get into making the changes, is learn the A7 arpeggio, muck around with it over just an A7 chord by itself. It'll feel clunky, don't worry about it, you're just getting used to the fingering, getting used to the visual shape, getting your fingers walking around that. Then have a go at incorporating just the minor third, so that... Sorry, I added the fourth in there, couldn't help it. Get used to incorporating just the flat third, and then explore this idea. Okay, I keep looking at my phone over here because I'm waiting for the vet to come and see my boy Cat for his vaccinations and stuff, and I've got to make sure that I answer the phone when he calls and lets me know he's here. So hence why I keep glancing over there. Now, you want to spend quite a lot of time on this. As soon as we start making the changes and playing between the different chords, there's a whole lot of thinking going on, because you've got all of these new shapes, new fingerings, new sounds, and you're going to have to deal with them all. I really strongly recommend that you spend at least a few weeks playing around with just one chord vamps. If you want to just break out of playing A and you're a bit bored, move the whole thing to a D chord or a G chord or whatever chord, but just record a little loop of that one chord and explore jamming over it using the arpeggios. Think of it as like arpeggio and then incorporating some of your blues things and then back into the arpeggio, so that they all kind of blend together in a nice way. At the beginning it won't blend together in a nice way, I'll warn you in advance, it'll feel clunky, but you have to push through that feeling. Over on the website you'll find some diagrams that will help you link the minor pentatonic scale and the dominant seventh arpeggio. That's really the key thing. Don't think about making the changes yet, just think about it on the A7 chord. Get really hip with that. Actually, I'm going to do a next lesson is going to be some licks that incorporate this dominant seventh arpeggio and the minor pentatonic scale together so you can put it into practice. But just spend some time exploring it on your own first. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you dig what I do. I really appreciate the support, and sign up over on the website if you haven't already, and you'll get access to the PDFs and all of that other stuff. And I think actually some loops might be really helpful for those of you that don't have a looper pedal. If you haven't got a looper pedal, you should probably buy one, but I'll see if I can't get a few loops going for this lesson as well. Hope you're enjoying the course so far. Do let me know in the comments if you've got any hassles with anything. I'll see if I can't sort it out for the next lesson. Hope you're enjoying it all, and I'll see you for more very soon. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.